So, that, so.
From women who actually made the journey with us, and also for the first time for women from the different countries who made the journey to meet each other. So welcome to everyone. Now, of course, journeys don't happen without tickets, and tickets cost money. So we want to record our gratitude to the Leonardo da Vinci Lifelong Learning Program for giving us the fare. Thank you. Okay, now I've got to, oh yes. So, these are the questions I want to address today. Where did we start? Where are we now, and how did we do it? But critically, have we made a difference? And what are we going to do in the future after we've recovered for 5 years of doing this? Right, where did we start? 15 years ago, women's enterprise support was not seen anywhere as an economic issue by policymakers, business organizations, and what have you. If I go too quickly, please tell me. Women were encouraged to start lifestyle businesses, exchanging low pay for low profits. Their businesses were seen as to stem from the need to put food on the table, rather than from the desire to grow and innovate. Women's enterprise policies, I don't know about your countries, but I can certainly tell you about the UK and also the European Commission. If we had women's enterprise policies, they were in boxes marked either equal opportunities or poverty reduction, if it was in your own country, or international aid, if it was abroad. And at that time, there's very little understanding of the economic potential that women represented. And, as is still largely the case today, the language of business growth, access to finance structures, and opportunities insider knowledge networks was set to a default position, and the default position was male. So, I was able, between 2001 and 2003, to access £500,000 of funding from my government to support poverty-stricken women, immigrant women, refugee women, disabled women, education-challenged women, criminal women. But they would not give me a penny to support women in businesses to grow. It was that special place that men could access so readily, but was denied to us. Why was that? Okay, I think there are 2 reasons, and I apologize to colleagues who've seen this slide so many times. First of all, there's a genuine belief that growth is gender neutral. There's only one way to do it. Business is business, finance is finance, and of course it's a very seductive argument, but it ignores the challenges that women face of isolation from power networks, access to finance problems, and the reality of family responsibilities. So I think this whole slide encapsulates the problem. To ensure fair selection, it's the same test, one size fits all, equal opportunities, get up that tree. That's what it's like. Also, there is a deeply embedded, or was, a deeply embedded belief that lack of female growth in their businesses is somehow a result of female shortcomings. It is our own fault, in other words, ultimately. So, where do we start? Back again. For women's growth businesses to be supported through publicly funded programs like ours, there had to be nothing less than a revolution in public policy thinking. Now, on a timeline, that revolution, of course, started in America, but it reached the UK in 2004, and those of us who like banging our heads against brick walls kept promoting it in Europe and have been doing so ever since. But the wonderful thing about brick walls is if you bang hard enough and you're not dead, they start to crumble. And in a European context, this program and most of the people in this room have contributed to this revolution. Women's businesses, when given the right support, are just as capable of growth and critically in the same numbers as men's businesses, with all the implications there are for the world's economy. I'll show you a nice little, I love this statistic. This is for the Harvard Business Review, and it was published in 2009. And this is what they forecast for 2014. Essentially, that female income would grow to greater than China and India's GDP combined. Now, where was all this wealth supposed to be coming from? It's not just divorce settlements, although a lot of male economists would let you believe that. No, it's female earning power. Yes, it comes increasingly from senior corporate positions, but also, and critically for us, it comes from women's enterprise. Particularly the rise of growth-oriented businesses started by women under 40. They are the fastest growing businesses in America. They overtake those in men. And we are seeing the same trend in the UK. So, are we talking about superwomen? No. When we talk about growth, innovation, acceleration, we mean those women, like many in the room, who've started their own business, have succeeded, and who want to go to the next level, but need some support, not quite sure how. But also, growth is a very lonely business, and women support each other in that. So by designing a methodology in the UK and testing it between 2005 and 2008, and yes, I persuaded the government to give us the money, the wonderful days before the recession, we demonstrated there were just as significant gender-based issues for female businesses as there were business growth as there was for startup. We showed that our specialist program, which became known as Imagining Growth, led to turnovers increasing from 30 to 100% in the 12 months following our assistance. And we have our millionaires, and very nice it is too. Having taken our own advice, we were hungry for more opportunity, so we decided to see whether we could replicate our success in Europe, or was it just a matter of the UK conditions. So, where are we now? We have what I believe is a comprehensive women's enterprise support service capable of replication in any country in the world. No mean feat. After our first program, which was a generic growth program for existing women-owned businesses, partners at the time, and Jacek will remember from Poland, identified two major new resources that were needed. These were an intensive investment readiness program and access to finance resources, and a program to engage and support women who face particular challenges. This could be ethnicity, poverty, redundancy, age, or living in areas of significant unemployment. So in our second program, which we're here to tell you about today, we completed our work, and together we've built this comprehensive women's enterprise support service. Now our methodology is what we call in the UK transformational. It takes account of the individual as a whole. So an individual's life circumstances, her caring responsibilities, everything. So we put that in to the business support. We factor that in to the business support, that understanding. And we go out and find the women. They, sometimes they come to us, of course they do, but we don't assume they will come to us. Whereas most business support is transactional. You will come to me if you want something from me, I give it for you and goodbye, that's it. So our methodology meets and embraces the challenges of all women, from the most economically and socially deprived to the highest achiever. So how do we do it? Well, these are the prime suspects. Apart from Darling Stella, who was taking the picture at some time. I like to see that bright light behind the wise man from the University of Birmingham is divine pleasure at what we've done. We had two very experienced women's organisations, AFAEM, the Association of Organisations of Mediterranean Businesswomen, not easy to say in a hurry, which is based in Barcelona, and APID, which is based in Turin, and you will hear from both of them shortly. We've had a very seasoned campaigner in Jacek, the Polish Chambers of Commerce, the National Polish Chambers of Commerce, and NBJ Associates, Nicoletta, the mama of the project, most organised and efficient person I've ever met, who puts me to shame regularly. Finally, we had the University of Birmingham, which has created the evaluation for us, and my own organisation, which was a Women's Business Development Agency at the start of this project, and we've been supporting women into business for 25 years. As a direct result of the project, we've become the women's economy, more enough. And there is the roll of honour. Biella Chamber of Commerce, who isn't in our first project, the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Bulgaria, I'm sure some of us will never forget them, and many other of the greater good. So let's get on to how do we do it. You will hear this in detail from each other, and it, I think, is a testament to our mentors of really understanding what we wanted to do and giving them far more than we had a right to ask. And that is the essence of transformational support, so thank you. We had group training in investment readiness and in growth and in business startup. But one of the key factors was the one-to-one mentoring that each of our clients enjoyed throughout the program. Many other add-ons. We've sat in so many offices of ministries, lobbying, advocacy, which women's enterprise support, you can't just go and ask for help. You have to explain why you need it to a largely skeptical audience. So we did rather a lot of that. We have developed and are developing an international standard because for excellence in women's support, because women's enterprise support itself is now becoming quite fashionable. And we can see lots of what we call in England cowboys, but I prefer to think of as cowgirls, trying to take this space from us. So, did we make a difference? Well, to paraphrase Mr. Obama, yes we did. Let's go back to policy. As recently as 2010, crucial European Union policies, and I'm talking about Europe 2020, which was a main roadmap for the next decade, as it was then. I'm talking about the Small Business Act, 2010, and I'm talking about gender equality legislation, which I think was 2009, 2010. The language they were talking was the language of equal opportunities, not economics. And this project made a submission to the Commission in 2010, which is on your USB sticks. We lobbied strongly together with scores of other women's organisations and women's entrepreneurs. And in 2011, there was a European Parliamentary revolution, yes, that's very true, supporting investment readiness and access to finance as a vital tool for women entrepreneurs. And the recommendations was including creating an Office of Women's Business Ownership, but for me, the main sentence is it should preferably not be situated in the gender ministries to provide a clear distinction between economic enterprise activities and gender equality responsibilities. Results, target, we were part of that. Okay, so very briefly what we have done in the last 5 years, over 200 women in 5 countries, trained and mentored, multimedia training resources capable of use anywhere in the world, a blueprint, as I said, for an international quality standard for excellence in mentoring women entrepreneurs, and a toolkit which will be launching shortly for international access to finance networks for women. Excuse me. So we've been busy, as you can see. not only in policy, and not only in outputs that we had to have, did we make a difference. We have lasting results from this project, and I want to tell you just about two of them. One is Women at Work Italia, an organisation that you will hear about from Nicoletta later, which I think is fair to say was a child of our first project, but it's a wonderful association in Biella, Piedmont, and it is growing, I think, almost daily. And it has joined now AFIM, one of our other partners. The second one is the women's economy, which I'll come back to in a second. But what we felt really was the most important thing to do was we don't want to waste the years of building expertise, of learning, of lobbying, persuading, begging, shouting, the experience and wisdom of our participants, our entrepreneurs, our trainers, our mentors, the research, the resources we've built up along the way, the sharing and the friendship and the respect that we have for each other, which is the magic glue, I think, that held us together. So thank you for that. So what about the future? Women's Economy, as I said, is the new name for our organisation. We want to announce the creation of the Women's Economy Network. It is an international web-based investment readiness, access to finance network and innovation exchange hub for women entrepreneurs. We intend to have Women's Economy Italia, Polska, Hispania, and anybody out there who would like to join us. We will offer expert consultancies to train and mentor organizations in business support, as well as our access to finance activity. We will promote our standard of excellence for business support, and we will become a center of resource which will help girls and women in Europe make confident and informed decisions about their economic futures. So I think that's it. It just remains for me to thank you, all of you, for coming on the journey with us. And we've learned so much from you. Thank you very much. Now, a little talk amongst yourselves while I work out this technology here. No. So that's that one. Now, I will ask you again for your attention whilst I introduce Stephanie Mitchell, who's very kindly come to address us today. Stephanie is Deputy Head of Unit at DG Enterprise. So the floor is yours. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Sally. And I think I'll be able to cut my remarks down a bit, if only because we're so much on the same wavelength,
Oh,
which
good.
is always a happy thing. Because I think for me, the real interest is to hear details from your partners of how exactly did you do it, what bumps in the road did you find, how did you overcome them, go around them, change them. People often say that bureaucrats talk too much about best practices, but it is one of the best things Europe does. You find specific, you could almost call them experiments, living labs, and bring the results back to each other, and you do lift all boats. I've seen it in other fields. My own background was in international business, particularly in Asia, and when we're helping small European businesses in difficult markets where they were afraid to get ripped off, the answer was very similar. It was, you need to look at all their circumstances. You don't wait till they're in a crisis. You as the support provider get to know the totality of their circumstances, and you don't just tell them you're going to have to sue this person or seek redress here or there, or sorry, you're out of luck. You work with them early enough so you can plan, you can work out which resources do you have. Is there a cheaper, faster option as opposed to a more costly, more long-term option? You have to know each other. And when we see business support providers who are effective supporting businesses, they are, as you say, the ones who they not only know their client, but they go out and find their client. And I was very, very encouraged to hear you say that. sitting in Brussels, there may be a tendency to think that you build some wonderful things and they will come, like it said in the film. Well, the answer is you can build any number of wonderful things, and they may jolly well not come. You have to invest a great deal in what in other businesses would be called marketing. And I confess that when one of my projects some years back in another field came to me and said, we need to beef up our marketing, I looked at them as if they were from outer space and said, marketing's for rural shampoo, and what are you talking about? And they gently, kindly explained this to me. The scales fell from my eyes, and I saw the results there. They helped real businesses achieve real results, but it was because they put a lot of time and shoe leather and outreach into finding people and into persuading. You mentioned advocacy as well,
Yes.
and skepticism never really goes away. So having said that, I'll sit through my actual prepared remarks.
Oh, please.
But then look forward to actually hearing how you did what you did, because it sounds very positive. I consulted with my colleague, you may know Anna Danaju, who is on her way to the SME Assembly today. So this is the week of the SME
Yes.
Assembly, which takes all sorts of people out of Brussels, which is why I got me in Stefana. But she was well familiar with what you're doing and very, very impressed. So she's instructed me to come all eyes and ears. And you set yourself a very ambitious goal. I noticed in some of the materials you wanted to incorporate all the best practices of the last 15 years. So I think this sums up, if you want a good job done, ask a busy woman, which is the saying most of us have heard, I suspect. I'm from the unit which deals with entrepreneurship and social economy. And quite frankly, our interest, and hopefully you'll be glad to hear this, our interest is purely economic growth and job creation. Gender equality is a lovely thing, but that's not what we do. We look at businesses as businesses. We understand that there are businesses created out of necessity and some created out of desire. They're all good because they employ the person who starts them. They hopefully begin to employ others and grow, but it's all about how businesses work. Businesses don't necessarily work differently depending on your gender, your ethnicity, and so on, but how you get the information does. And as you said, if you don't, I've spoken to various business support providers, and my question to them has been, do you know who your potential entrepreneurs are? And some of the good ones genuinely do, but many of them, ironically, particularly if they're very well established, have a good steady flow of people coming to their door. They haven't gone out to see if there are young people who think that business isn't for them, or people from different ethnic or linguistic or age groups who don't know about their website or their building or whatever it is. So much of it is about communication and investment readiness. As you said, those are my two pets. Hobby horses, I guess. They're my pet causes that I find myself repeating. We look at this from the point of view of potential, and you had a few nice statistics I'll throw around mine as well. You probably know them far better than I do. For those who think that women would be enterprising, or and their businesses would be growing if they wanted to, and therefore, as you said, it's just something intrinsic or they want to have corners, whatever. The rate of women self-employed differs hugely across Europe and across the world. And the statistic that we found sort of catchiest was if the UK matched the US levels of female entrepreneurship, there'd be nearly a million more businesses in the UK. And what would that do for the economy at a time when we're all rather preoccupied with looking for coins under sofa cushions and so on? If you look at the science and tech side of things, you've got less than 10% of European patents awarded. About a fifth of businesses started with venture capital along with entrepreneurs. If women participated in the digital sector at the same rate as men do, the European GDP would rise by about 9 billion. And there's scope here. There's so much scope. There has been very interesting work over the last couple of decades suggesting that women enterprise, and I hate using that as a word, but there it is, I don't differently than men. Partly in terms of access to business, partly in terms of encountering stereotypes amongst lenders, venture capitalists, whoever. And I still encounter it sometimes in my career with people in my career, which is shocking. I didn't say that out loud, and I'm sure
We
many
hear it
now. But equally, I think that women have a different risk calculus in many cases. And going back decades, I remember when I was very young and freshly out of university, in the US, there was quite a famous lawsuit against the State Department, the Foreign Ministry effectively, which used a multiple choice test as a first test for budding diplomats. And very few women passed. And the idea was, well, they don't read the papers, they're not up on this fabulous array of international affairs, which you have to get through the funnel to get to the interviews. Vast amounts of sort of psychometric testing showing that the women applicants were sort of saying, I'm not sure if that's the right answer. Whereas either the men had been trained. I spent, as you can tell from my accent, many formative years in the US. And by that time we were trained that, better to fill in an answer than leave a blank. But equally, I've seen some of my colleagues coming to do European comp where we don't necessarily think like that. I don't know whether it's to do with something boys learn in sports or whatever, but it's a different mentality. And there are those who say also, we get so women don't take risks, well, they're not natural entrepreneurs. The flip side of that coin seems to be that women default far less than men. So what you could say is, no, it's not that we're not enterprising, it's not that we're not up for a challenge, it's that we've got very clear eyes. Which may mean we're not running off and doing mad things, but we may be very capable of running off and doing very excellent things. So really there is a need for more research to underpin more advocacy. Let me give you just sort of 5 minutes on what the Commission and our unit in particular is doing at the moment. Not to say that that's the be all and end all, and I think you'll see where I end up. You'll see that we're looking in similar directions for the future. Over the last 5 years or so, I think we began in 2009 with our ambassadors network, and the idea was role models. We had nearly 300 women entrepreneur ambassadors in about 22 participating countries. And their idea was simply to be role models, to speak, to reach out, to encourage women to see entrepreneurship as a viable possibility, seeing a role model from your culture, your language, not somebody imposed from on high.
Se va a acompañar a la familia del exministro.
There's someone being dropped down from
Sorry.
Was it something I said? They had such a great response to their outreach that we then set up a mentors network where our participants were not only being
Miguel Boyer falleció ayer en Madrid a los 35 años.
she's off to mentor someone. They actually committed to offer concrete advice to a certain number of businesses, each participating mentor. And we had 17 countries participating there and 200 mentors. These sorts of initiatives aren't the sort of thing we can run internally. We don't pretend to do that. We can't. And with the range of policy initiatives we're meant to support, we could quickly be in a one-horse business if we did. The idea was rather to see if that was something that was needed, if it was something that worked, and if others would sort of run with the baton once we put it out there, and that really has happened. Particularly the value of mentoring, and I'd love to hear more about the sorts of mentoring that your partners have done. take forward the mentoring idea with an initiative starting next year aimed at senior entrepreneurs. And I would very much love to include some of your knowledgeable folks in that. We're not going to set up a pan-European scheme ourselves to do all the mentoring. We want to bring together people who do it well, and people who would like to do it but have no food, and people who stir them up with a very large European spoon, and generate materials which, like yours on women, can be fed out to show how you can do it on a tiny budget, a big budget, with your present resources, with more different resources. And the philosophy is the same, as you said, people can be in difficult circumstances. We see also that people are living longer, they're living healthier. They have ideas, which perhaps our parents or grandparents' generation didn't have the luxury of thinking, you know what, I'm ready to reinvent myself. I'm ready to go and do more. I'll sit at the seaside or I'll work in my garden separately or a bit later, but I've got an idea now and I want to run with it. So it's going to be a similar approach, and we'd like to draw some inspiration from you. I shall be pursuing you to find the right contacts for that. So I've already talked a bit about the holistic approach, or what you said, transformational rather than transactional, and that's very much what we're interested in. You alluded, I think, to the Entrepreneurship Action Plan, which we came out with about a year and a half ago now. The three pillars of our policy there are entrepreneurial education, creating an environment where entrepreneurial businesses can flourish, and role models and reaching out. So I think role models and reaching out is really what we're talking about today. By education, what I want to say is we also need experience. We don't mean training everyone to become a bookkeeper. You can find that if you know you need it. Likewise, you can find someone to advise you on your countries or your localities, licenses, authorizations, tax, whatever, but you have to know which questions to ask, and you have to have a vision of how your business is going to work. So we're talking about experience, and we see that that is the single best investment we could make. Now, obviously, when you talk about education, you're usually starting from secondary school, at least. But we've pushed out to the member states the target of every secondary student having an entrepreneurial experience before they finish school. Where that's done, you see a 5 or 6 times increase in the number of those students who go on to start their own businesses. And you also see that when they don't do that, they're regarded as more dynamic, more employable. Their eventual employers see them as more responsible, better at teamwork, better at being proactive, all those things which we do want for ourselves and our society and our businesses. Our next project, we're looking at a study on statistics on women entrepreneurs, which sounds a bit dull and dry, but you mentioned the Economic and Social Committee opinion. This is one of the big requests. We're always requested, where are the statistics? The Commission, unfortunately, doesn't make up statistics. Would that we could sometimes. We work with Eurostat, who in turn get them from the member states. And it's actually, you might think it's odd, it's quite hard to pull out credible information on women-owned businesses. And of course, you don't want to create another burden on the small businesses. You would think that when they fill out the form, perhaps the person they give it to could look at it. But in fact, of course, they're not giving it to a person. They're putting it into a website or a form or whatever. But we are just finishing up that study now. So that will hopefully paint us a good picture of the situation as recently as we can, knowing that there's a bit of time making these things, but also tell us where the holes are, so that we can come back with some further recommendations to the member states in particular, because that's where the information comes from. It's member states, it's regions, it's localities. So we're finalizing that. I'm thinking it should be done by Christmas. I know that it's floating back. So that we're really running forward with. And we're also looking at a feasibility study on an e-platform for women entrepreneurs. And we've been looking at some successful examples. So I feel we may have more things to talk about.
Right.
And the idea being, as you so eloquently described, mentoring, advice, networking, information across Europe to help national or local or regional ambassadors and mentor schemes reach out more, push out more information. But one of the big things we've been doing, one of the reasons we had to have the statistics work done first, was to see what's out there, what works. I mean, our brief as the commission, people tend to have two competing visions. They either think we're sitting in gold-plated offices, eating bonbons, and throwing largesse around. I'm here to tell you it's not true. My office is across the street, you can come and look. Or they imagine that we're sort of doing not much of anything. Our brief really is to fill gaps where normal businesses, normal service providers don't or can't, or to kind of make up for an unlevel playing field. So that's what we're hoping to do here. And obviously, as I said, I'm going to threaten / promise to be in touch with you more. We don't want to duplicate your efforts, which sound fantastic.
Which
But
you've
if
already
there's-
paid for, Steph.
but if there's some way, for example, you said these resources are available, well, you know, maybe there's a member state who doesn't have the resources and would love them. Maybe we can help make that connection. So I think our visions are much closer together than they used to be, in large part through the sterling efforts of Anna and people like yourselves. So I think we see a lot of chances for future collaboration. It doesn't necessarily always consist of funding a project that takes X many years and fits in a box, but it consists of pushing forward the communication, the persuasion, sharing the resources so that we speak with one voice that's multiplied and is much louder, and that we find, I mean, the whole point of this is to find women who would like to be entrepreneurial, and to help them be effective at it. And that will, of course, be the best possible rebuttal to those who think that this is tokenism or desperate necessity. I think it's none of the above. And I'm just looking forward to getting on with it. Do you want to leave it all here? So now I'll shut up and listen.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you very much. I sound very encouraged to hear about what is going on. I'm particularly encouraged at the idea of a women's enterprise platform, and we look forward to working together. And thank you so much for coming over.
Well, and I'll be at the back collecting cards before I go so that I know who to beg for what.
Right. Well, we are now going to get on to a bit of the meat of what we do. And our first presentation is from APID in Turin. And I'm just looking where it might be. Xenia, you know how hopeless I am with these things. Really not work that out. And I would like our Italian colleagues to join us up here. Would you mind
No,
going down to the,
I want
yes?
to be able to see from it.
Yes, it's better for Right. I'll get down here today. Do you want to put your name? Oh, Nicoletta, your one is there, sorry. Just the translator. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Signora Giovanna Boschis, who is the president of APID, and we're honored that you came to join us today. Thank you.
Sì, io ringrazio, parlo in italiano e ho una bravissima traduttrice.
I have a very good translator, which is almost true. Anyway, go on.
La mia lingua è il francese, ma quindi sì. Allora, intanto buongiorno a tutti. E per quelli che non mi conoscono, io mi chiamo Giovanna Boschis e sono la presidente dell'APID, l'associazione delle piccole e medie imprese manifatturiere legata ad Acqui Torino.
Good morning, everybody. For the pleasure to know me. My name is Giovanna Bosnis, and I'm president of API Torino, that is an association of women entrepreneurs of Turin. For over 40 years, I've been working in the sphere of women's enterprise and equal opportunities, and I'm delighted to be here today to tell you all about API's experience with Imagining Growth.
Dopo di me prenderanno la parola Marina Buratti, una delle mentor dei progetti, e Cristina Argentero, beneficiaria di uno dei 2 percorsi avviati grazie ad Imagining Growth.
After me, you will hear from Marina Buratti, one of the mentors, and Cristina Argentero, one of the participants in one of the 2 schemes that were set in motion by Imagining Growth 2.
Per presentare brevemente la nostra associazione, posso dirvi che APID sostiene da 25 anni lo sviluppo e il rafforzamento delle imprese femminili sul territorio piemontese italiano. Facciamo parte del sistema Confimi, confederazione che riunisce associazioni di piccole e medie imprese italiane, e sul territorio piemontese del sistema API Torino, con i quali condividiamo missioni e obiettivi.
To give a brief introduction to our association, I can tell you that for 25 years APID has been supporting the development and reinforcing of women's enterprise in Piedmont and throughout Italy. We are part of the Confini system, which is a confederation of small and medium Italian enterprise association, and the API Torino system, small and medium industry association, which operates in the Piedmont area.
Vorrei ringraziare innanzitutto Sally Arte e le colleghe di Biella per averci coinvolto in questo ambizioso progetto che, oltre ad aver apportato un beneficio diretto al target di riferimento, ha anche stimolato e accresciuto le capacità e le competenze del nostro staff.
I would like to thank Sally Artley and our colleagues from Biella for having invited us to join in with them in this ambitious project, which has not only brought a direct benefit to our target audience, but also stimulated and enriched the abilities and competence of our own staff.
Inoltre vorrei ringraziare gli altri partner, la Spagna, la Polonia, Raffaele, eccetera, per aver condiviso così brillantemente azioni e obiettivi del progetto.
Moreover, I want to thank the other partners who have shared their actions and objectives with us in such a brilliant fashion.
Alle mie spalle, come vedete, stanno scorrendo delle immagini delle attività e dei percorsi di formazione e di mentoring che abbiamo fatto sia a Torino che a Biella. A Torino abbiamo lavorato con donne con oltre 45 anni, oppure provenienti da minoranze etniche e che volevano aprire una propria attività. A Biella abbiamo lavorato con donne con attività già avviate, ma Marina e Cristina porteranno poi loro, vi parleranno della loro esperienza.
Behind me, as you can see, are a series of images of the activities and training and mentoring sessions that were held in Turin and Biella. In Turin, we worked with the over 45s and women from ethnic minorities who wanted to set up their own businesses. While in Biella, we worked with women who already had their own enterprises, but Marina and Cristina will tell you about it themselves.
Il modello messo a punto da WUSBA e perfezionato attraverso il progetto è di sicura efficacia e impatto sulle beneficiarie. Ne avrete una riprova in un breve video che vi presenterò tra poco, registrato con una delle donne di Torino che hanno partecipato al progetto.
The model created by WUBJA has been perfected by being run through this project and has undoubtedly had a positive and, we hope, lasting impact on the participant. Later on, we will show you the evidence of this in a short video made by one of the women participants from Turin.
Esistono diversi percorsi di mentoring, ma questo è l'unico che riconosce e potenzia le specificità femminili e che accresce non solo le competenze tecniche, ma anche e soprattutto quelle personali. Non ci dimentichiamo che l'andamento delle imprese è legato anche alle attitudini e alle motivazioni personali dell'imprenditore. Il fatto poi di aver avuto insegnanti e mentor donne ha aiutato soprattutto per le start-up a creare un clima di fiducia e di ascolto essenziale per la buona riuscita del percorso.
Okay, there are plenty of mentoring schemes, but this is the only one that recognizes and empowers the female dimension. Not only does it increase technical competence, but also and above all the personal element. We must never forget that the successful operating of a business is directly linked to the attitudes and personal motivation of the owner. The fact of having teachers and mentors who are women themselves has been an immense help, especially for the start-uppers, in creating an atmosphere of trust and sympathetic listening, essential for the successful outcome.
Inizialmente a Torino avevamo coinvolto 10 donne. Purtroppo non tutte se la sono sentita di procedere, perché hanno capito che l'imprenditoria non era la loro strada.
In the beginning, in Turin, we had involved 10 women, but unfortunately, not all of them felt able to continue because some of them realized that enterprise was not for them.
A distanza di pochi mesi dalla fine del percorso progettuale, alcune di loro stanno facendo i passi burocratici per l'avvio di attività, mentre altre hanno ancora bisogno di un supporto, soprattutto finanziario, per avviare la loro piccola impresa. In tutti i casi si trattava di imprese legate alla ristorazione o ai servizi di cura alla persona. Nel nostro target di riferimento le imprese innovative hanno una percentuale molto bassa.
From a distance of just a few months from the close of this part of the project, some of the women are already involved with the bureaucratic procedures necessary in starting up a new business, while others still need support, particularly financial, to get the small enterprises off the ground. In all the cases, we are dealing with businesses that are either restaurant-based or personal care-based. In our target area, innovative business are a very low percentage.
Tirando le fila, è adesso necessario standardizzare il metodo a Torino ed aprirlo ad altre categorie, come ai giovani in cerca di occupazione, alle neolaureate, alle impiegate che vogliono rilevare un'attività o avviarne una nuova.
Drawing to a close, it is now necessary to standardize the Turing method and open it to other categories like youngsters looking for work, university leavers, and those in a job who would like to take over an existing business or start a new one.
Purtroppo, per motivi logistici, non abbiamo potuto far partecipare direttamente a questo workshop le beneficiarie di Torino, ma abbiamo registrato un breve video in cui Melania Peiretti ci racconta la sua esperienza nel progetto, i suoi punti di forza e le sue debolezze. Alla fine del video prenderà la parola Marina Buratti, mentor del percorso avviato a Biella. Grazie a tutti.
Unfortunately, for logistical reasons, we have not been able to get the Turing participants to take part in this workshop, but we do have a short video that Melania Perietti has made where she tells us about her experience of the project, her strong points and her weaknesses. At the end of the video, Marina Buratti, Biella mentor, will take the stage. Thank you very much.
Allora, chiedo a lei di tradurre ancora una cosa. Volevo ringraziare Elena Hoffman di essere qua, del
She wants
UEAPME,
to thank very much Ellen Hoffman to be here from the UEA,
perché insieme a lei
because with her
abbiamo fatto e portato avanti diverse cose per le donne imprenditrici.
Because with her and through her, we have actually done quite a lot for women entrepreneurs.
Abbiamo fatto una benchmarking europea su quello che sono gli strumenti di politiche sociali a sostegno delle imprenditrici.
Yes, we made a benchmarking for all the political instruments that are actually put in for the women entrepreneurs.
E un'altra indagine sugli strumenti finanziari.
And another one about the financial instruments.
Questo progetto va a completare quello che è stata la nostra ricerca.
This project is actually completing what it has been our research.
Quindi strumenti di politiche sociali, strumenti finanziari, mentor a sostegno delle imprenditrici.
So political, social, no,
Social political,
no, political, social, political, yes.
financial
Financial, yes, the political, the financial,
and mentor.
and the mentoring, they're all together, and now they form a round, perfect
Yes.
core.
Thank you.
Yes.
Se avessi potuto, si j'aurais pu parler en français peut-être, Elena e l'aurait pu.
Signora
Io
Boschi,
spero che tutti mi abbiano capito.
Signora Boschi is saying that actually she speaks French and she would be very happy to speak French, but she hopes that you understood what she meant.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay? Adesso, no, più di Dani,
Grazie.
I started the Imagine Grow project in a crucial moment of my life. I was thinking to be
The other video.
I'm going to stop the video. Sorry.
Greeting to all. My name is Melania. I currently live in Torino, Italy, and I am 38 years old. Since many years from now, my personal style of life is deeply connected to a vegan diet. A way to be engaged in increasing the number of people that call joy in the vegan world is to open a vegan restaurant. This is why I say that it has been a great opportunity for me to attend this training, helping me to get more business tools in addition to my personal objectives. The training was organized in two main parts. The first one aimed at deepening understanding of motivation, fears, capabilities, expectation of participants. The trainer was a key factor in helping participants to discover personal attitude. And the key element for this task was the use of the SWOT analysis. The second part of the training concerned how to build a business plan. This is a strategic topic for each one who wanted to start a new business. Even if we have already run a business in the past, operating without a plan can be dangerous in the long run. The face-to-face activity on this topic was really appreciated in order to test our improvement. In addition, the lab activity was so important. For example, for the competition topic, I visited many vegan restaurants here in Italy, in England, London, and studied their way to do their business in terms of weakness, strength, how to they deal with their clients, and so on. We were 8 women in the class. Some of them come from other countries and were not so well aligned with the others in terms of knowledge, technical language, etc. As a result, sometimes it was difficult for them to understand explanations. A final consideration, I do feel more confident to start a new business after attending this training.
The entrepreneur are ready to do at home and a preparation of the tasks to be examined in the next session. Sometimes when too busy because of their business, the tasks were performed together with the entrepreneur. At the end of the mentoring process, some meetings were organized between the entrepreneurs that synergies or collaborations could develop. For example, one of the volunteers who participated in the first part of the program and to the second, owner of a tailoring workshop that got a handmade excellence from Piemonte region, accepted to teach to a young team of one of the second part, graduated in fashion tailoring at Collage Milan, how to improve her tailoring technique. The collaboration is still going on and they are both satisfied. So this is the most important part. Another one mentee who always graduated in fashion design in Milan that produces turbans and bands for hair was interested in a collaboration with a business angel, and for this she met an even representative in Vienna. The mentoring approach has been very, very friendly, bottom up and not bottom down, with mutual discussion and mutual learning, with an informal business meeting style. This has been my third experience of mentoring, and once more I realized that mentoring is based on mutual trust and respect that suddenly becomes a real friendship, allowing the creation of a durable business networking. Thank you for your attention.
For me, this has been a very positive experience. I run a family business which is very much man-oriented. As I look back on it, I can see that I have learned to believe in myself more and to trust in my own ability, and I feel that I have more confidence in the future. We have been able to build wonderful friendships and at the same time develop a small but available business network. We have had and formed an association. In my mentor Marina, I have found support, collaboration, trust, and even a shoulder to cry on about personal problems. Our family sensitivities, always present in any aspect of our life, affection, family, and work, have come to the surface. I've now got a clear idea in my mind of what the next steps are to be in my work. And now, when I get to the office, I am more relaxed and more optimistic, and of course, this is reflected in my relation with my customer, supplier, and employer. The second Imagine Good project has given me the stimulus of developing to expand a particular area of production that is good, new, and fair. I had already taken part in the first Imagine Good program, and when I heard of the second one, I was really glad to be able to join it. Unlike the first program, this time the coaching period was much shorter. All the girls in the project have learned how to network and understand how important it is. Here, a personal story. My firm produced container tanks and metal structural work, so I was able to make some tanks for the girl who makes wine to store the fuel for her tractors. And now, when I want to give present to my clients, I buy her wine. Then again, I design and build a special desk for one of our association members who is a lawyer. And this summer, I sent some friends to another member who runs a travel agency. In fact, every time I have to buy some good or service, I always think first if there is any of our lady entrepreneurs in our association, Women at Work Italia, who can help, and usually there is.
Very interesting. I do hope that you find that enlightening to hear about people who actually did the work. Thank you so much. Right, next on the agenda is the Yatsen. Oh my God. Right, we'll now find the names. By the flowers. Okay, I'd like to present our friends and colleagues from Poland. Mr. Jacek Kresakowski will take the stand and introduce his colleagues. Jacek, you are the Director of European Projects, is that right?
Department of European Projects.
For at the Polish Chamber of Commerce. And Jacek has served a life sentence with me in two projects, and it's delightful to have you back again.
My name is Jacek Kresakowski. I have the pleasure to represent Polish Chamber of Commerce today. Firstly, I would like to introduce our mentor, Barbara Kostarzyłka. Barbara and our mentee, very prospective businesswoman, Lydia, who will later present her business and her future, I think.